Waterpark Prank, Disturbing Animation Disaster. Waterpark Prank stands as Adventure Time's most visually jarring guest animated episode, featuring character designs so unsettling and unappealing that it became widely considered the worst guest episode in the series, with Finn rendered pretty hideous and unappealing in almost every way, according to reviewers. Adventure Time had built a reputation for its innovative guest animated episodes, each one showcasing unique artistic visions while maintaining the show's core spirit. Previous guest episodes like A Glitch is a Glitch by David O'Reilly and Food Chain by Masaki Yuasa were celebrated masterpieces that expanded what the show could be. These episodes proved that Adventure Time could accommodate wildly different animation styles while preserving its essence, humor, and emotional depth. The show's regular animation style was characterized by fluid, rounded shapes and noodly arms and legs that allowed for incredibly expressive movement. Characters had simple dot eyes that conveyed emotion through subtle changes, and the overall aesthetic was warm, inviting, and instantly recognizable. This visual language had become integral to Adventure Time's identity, helping viewers connect with the characters and their world. By Season 6, Adventure Time had established itself as animation's most experimental mainstream series. The show regularly pushed boundaries with surreal storylines, complex mythology, and artistic innovation. Guest animated episodes had become special events that fans eagerly anticipated, knowing they would see their beloved characters through completely new, artistic lenses, while still getting the storytelling quality they expected. The previous guest episodes succeeded because they understood Adventure Time's fundamental appeal, IDS, the balance between childlike wonder and emotional sophistication, the mix of humor and heart, and the way characters could be both simple and deeply complex. They took risks with visuals while respecting the characters' personalities and the show's tonal consistency. This track record made Waterpark Prank such a shocking disappointment. Fans expected another artistic triumph that would expand their appreciation for animation possibilities. Instead, they got something that felt fundamentally disconnected from everything that made Adventure Time special. Waterpark Prank was created by David Ferguson, a Scottish independent animator from Glasgow who published experimental work on his website spazpat.net. Pendleton Ward, Adventure Time's creator, was reportedly a big fan of Ferguson's work and specifically sought him out for a guest episode. This endorsement from Ward himself created high expectations among fans who trusted the creator's artistic judgment. Ferguson was originally commissioned to create a 5-minute short for Cartoon Network's website and YouTube channel. His unique animation style, flat, geometric, and highly stylized, would have worked perfectly in this shorter format, similar to his other independent projects. However, late in the production process, Cartoon Network asked him to expand the short into a full 11-minute television episode. This expansion created immediate problems. Ferguson had to stretch what was essentially a brief animated sketch into a full Adventure Time episode, adding substantial new content under tight deadlines. The animation style that worked for a quick online video suddenly had to carry an entire television episode, sustaining viewer interest for twice as long as originally intended. The episode was scheduled to air on the 21st of May, 2015, following two particularly intense Adventure Time episodes, Grable's 1000 Plus and Hoots, that had left fans emotionally drained. Waterpark Prank was positioned as a lighter, more relaxed breather episode, giving viewers a chance to decompress with simple Finn and Jake hijinks at a water park. However, leaked versions of the episode began circulating online before its official air date, allowing some fans to see it early. Initial reactions on social media were mixed to negative, with many viewers expressing confusion and disappointment about the animation style and story content. These early warning signs suggested that something had gone seriously wrong with the episode. From the very first scene, Water Park Prank looked completely different from any Adventure Time episode viewers had seen before. The characters were rendered in Ferguson's signature flat, geometric style that resembled early South Park episodes or motion graphics from the mid-2000s. The animation used only motion tween techniques, creating a stilted, puppet-like movement that completely abandoned Adventure Time's signature fluid animation. But the most shocking change was how the main characters looked. Finn, Adventure Time's beloved protagonist, was redesigned with stretched mouth features, pointed nose elements, and prominent eye whites instead of his characteristic dot eyes. Multiple reviewers noted that he looked pretty hideous and unappealing in almost every way, and super unappealing and unrecognizable. The design was so jarring that many fans couldn't connect this version with the character they had grown to love over 6 seasons. Jake fared slightly better in the redesign, maintaining more of his essential character traits. But even he looked unnaturally flat and geometric. Princess Bubblegum, Ice King, and other familiar characters all received similar treatments that made them look like completely different beings. The heavy focus on giving everyone prominent eye whites created what one reviewer called more off-putting than charming designs. The story itself was deliberately simple and juvenile. Finn and Jake head to the Wet Pipes Water Park, a post-apocalyptic water park built on the site of an old pesticide factory, for a day of fun. Finn forgets his underwear and has to go back home to get it, leading to a sequence where he bounces on mushroom tops while singing an underwear song. This level of toilet humor and childish comedy felt completely at odds with Adventure Time's usual sophisticated approach to humor. The main plot involves Finn and Jake playing a prank on Ice King at the water park. They block a water slide with Jake's inflated body, causing Ice King to bounce back up every time he tries to go down. The prank is mean-spirited and pointless, making the heroes look like bullies rather than the generally kind-hearted characters fans knew. Ice King's motivation for being at the park, wanting to freeze it and turn it into his own ice kingdom, makes no logical sense since he already has an entire ice kingdom. The episode's pacing felt both rushed and sluggish simultaneously. Scenes jumped around without clear transitions, yet somehow the 11 minutes felt much longer. Dialogue was clunky and unnatural, with even experienced voice actors like Jeremy Shada and John DiMaggio sounding uncomfortable and uncertain about their lines. The script read like Ferguson had only watched a few early Season 1 episodes and misunderstood the characters' core personalities. The visual style, while potentially interesting for Ferguson's independent work, completely failed to capture Adventure Time's essence. The flat, geometric designs eliminated all the expressiveness and charm that made the characters lovable. Movement was mechanical and lifeless, lacking the organic energy that characterized the show's regular animation. Fan reaction was swift and overwhelmingly negative. The episode earned a devastating 4.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb, making it one of the lowest-rated episodes in Adventure Time's entire run. Social media exploded with criticism, with fans expressing shock, disappointment, and genuine distress at what they had witnessed. Many viewers described feeling physically uncomfortable while watching the episode. The character designs were described as terrifying, disturbing, and nightmare-inducing. Parents reported that their children, who normally loved Adventure Time, were upset or frightened by how the familiar characters looked. Professional reviewers were equally harsh. Adventure Time, reviewed, a respected fan site, gave the episode a scathing review, stating, "I don't know what Ferguson was thinking when he concocted his own version of Finn, but the little guy looks pretty hideous and unappealing in almost every way." The review concluded that Ferguson's style doesn't really capture the essence or tone of AT at all. Other critics noted that the animation was bizarre and at times terrifying to look at, and that Ferguson had significantly misjudged the style of the show. The AV Club, while more diplomatic, acknowledged that the episode was forgettable and felt immature in a children's TV way that missed Adventure Time's usual sophistication. Fans particularly criticized how the episode treated beloved characters. Ice King was portrayed as a straight villain rather than the complex, sympathetic character he had become. Finn and Jake seemed cruel and immature in ways that contradicted years of character development. The episode felt like it was made by someone who didn't understand what made Adventure Time special. The animation community was divided. Some appreciated Ferguson's artistic vision and the boldness of the experiment, but most agreed that it was the wrong fit for Adventure Time. The episode became a cautionary tale about the importance of matching artistic style with narrative content and understanding your source material. Water Park Prank immediately became the gold standard for Adventure Time's worst guest animated episode. When fans discussed the show's low points, this episode was consistently mentioned alongside actual bad episodes rather than being excused as an interesting experiment. It damaged the reputation of guest animated episodes in general, making fans more skeptical of future artistic experiments. The episode highlighted the importance of understanding source material when creating guest content. Ferguson's independent work was genuinely charming and well regarded in animation circles, but his interpretation of Adventure Time felt like he had fundamentally misunderstood what made the show work. This became a case study in how talented artists could still create unsuccessful work when they weren't the right fit for a project. Cartoon Network seemed to learn from the episode's failure. Future guest animated episodes were more carefully curated, with greater emphasis on ensuring that guest artists understood Adventure Time's core appeal. The network became more selective about which independent animators were invited to contribute, prioritizing those who showed better understanding of the show's tone and characters. Ferguson himself handled the criticism gracefully, though he rarely discussed the episode publicly. He was later brought back to animate a segment in Adventure Time: Distant Lands, suggesting that the Adventure Time team still valued his artistic contributions when properly directed. This redemption opportunity showed that the problem wasn't Ferguson's talent, but rather the circumstances and constraints of the original episode. The episode also became a meme within the Adventure Time fandom. Fans would reference Water Park Prank as shorthand for disappointing content or poor artistic choices. The distinctive character designs became symbols of what not to do when adapting beloved characters. Interestingly, the episode's canonicity became a running joke. While most guest animated episodes were considered non-canon, writer Jack Pendarvis jokingly declared Water Park Prank canon on Twitter the day before it aired. This designation later gained unexpected significance when the Fiona and Cake series established an in-universe definition of canon, and the Water Park Prank universe briefly appeared in Golb's realm, technically making it part of the multiverse. The episode's legacy extends beyond Adventure Time itself. It became a reference point for discussions about artistic collaboration, the challenges of adapting existing properties, and the importance of understanding your audience. Animation students and professionals still study it as an example of how creative vision and execution quality don't guarantee success if they're mismatched with the project's needs. Water Park Prank ultimately served as a reminder that Adventure Time's success wasn't just about being weird or experimental. It was about being weird and experimental in ways that served the characters and story. When artistic ambition lost sight of that fundamental principle, even the most well-intentioned creative efforts could fall flat. The episode stands as proof that not every experiment succeeds, and that's okay. Adventure Time's willingness to take risks inevitably meant that some risks wouldn't pay off, but the show's overall track record of artistic innovation remained strong enough that one failed experiment couldn't diminish its legacy of creative achievement. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Ben 10, Catch a Falling Star, Multiple Disturbing Moments. Catch a Falling Star stands as Ben 10's darkest episode, featuring multiple murders, Stockholm Syndrome, and psychological manipulation, as movie star Jennifer Nocturne helps villain Captain Nemesis escape prison and commit brutal killings in his quest for revenge against Ben. Ben 10. Ultimate Alien had already established itself as a more mature version of the franchise, dealing with serious themes like war, responsibility, and moral complexity. By the third season, the show had found a balance between exciting superhero action and deeper emotional storytelling that appealed to both young viewers and their older siblings who had grown up with the original series. The character of Jennifer Nocturne had been introduced earlier in the season as a famous teenage actress who became romantically interested in Ben after he rescued her from a staged kidnapping. She appeared to be a typical celebrity love interest, beautiful, famous, and genuinely caring about Ben as a person rather than just his fame. Her relationship with Ben had caused some tension with his girlfriend Julie, but she seemed like a fundamentally good person caught up in the dangerous world surrounding Ben's heroic activities. Captain Nemesis, whose real name was Carl Nesmith, had been established as a tech-based villain who used advanced armor and gadgets to fight Ben. Unlike alien threats or magical enemies, Nemesis represented something more grounded and personal, a human who had chosen to use technology for evil rather than good. His previous encounters with Ben had shown him to be dangerous but not necessarily deadly, more focused on proving himself superior than actually killing people. The show had handled serious topics before, but always within the framework of a superhero adventure series. Episodes dealt with loss, betrayal, and difficult choices, but typically resolved these conflicts in ways that reinforced positive messages about doing the right thing and protecting innocent people. This foundation made what happened in Catch a Falling Star so shocking and disturbing. The episode opens with what appears to be a routine scene at a federal prison. Jennifer Nocturne arrives for what the guards mention has become a daily visit to see Carl Nesmith, who is serving time for his crimes as Captain Nemesis. The guards are puzzled by why a famous actress would visit a criminal every single day, but they're starstruck enough to let her skip security screenings and even ask for autographs. This seemingly innocent setup immediately establishes that something is wrong. Jennifer's daily visits suggest an unhealthy obsession, and her ability to manipulate the guards with her celebrity status hints at deeper manipulation skills. When she meets with Carl through the prison visitor window, their conversation reveals a disturbing intimacy that goes far beyond what should exist between a victim and her former captor. Jennifer places a small bomb under the window as part of an escape plan they have clearly planned together. She then pretends to storm out angrily, creating a believable cover story for why she's leaving quickly. After she gets into her limousine and drives to safety, the bomb explodes, freeing Carl from his cell. The fact that a supposed victim has become an active accomplice in helping her captor escape prison signals that something deeply wrong has happened to Jennifer's mental state. Meanwhile, Ben and Gwen are investigating what they believe is Jennifer's kidnapping. They assume that Carl has somehow forced or tricked her into helping him, because the alternative, that she's helping him willingly, seems impossible to believe. This sets up the tragic irony that drives the episode. Ben wants to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. As Ben and Gwen track the escaped pair across the country, the true scope of Carl's evil becomes clear through a series of increasingly disturbing events. The episode doesn't shy away from showing the real consequences of having a genuine psychopath on the loose, willing to kill anyone who gets in his way. Carl's first murder occurs when he and Jennifer visit Dr. Purvis, a veterinarian who performs plastic surgery to change Carl's appearance so he can't be easily recognized. After the surgery is complete, Carl coldly kills Dr. Purvis and stuffs his body in a freezer. This isn't a heat-of-the-moment killing or self-defense, it's calculated murder to eliminate a witness. The fact that Jennifer witnesses this brutal act and remains loyal to Carl shows how completely her mind has been twisted. The second murder is even more disturbing because it involves a completely innocent person. When Carl and Jennifer's car breaks down on a remote highway, a truck driver stops to offer help. This Good Samaritan's only crime is trying to assist what he thinks are stranded motorists. Carl responds to this kindness by killing the man with his Captain Nemesis gauntlet, leaving his body by the roadside with a note taunting Ben to follow them. Throughout these events, Jennifer not only accepts Carl's actions, but actively supports them. She's not being forced to help at gunpoint or under physical threat. Instead, she has genuinely come to believe that Carl is the victim and that Ben is their enemy. When Gwen explains Stockholm Syndrome to Ben, describing how victims sometimes develop emotional bonds with their captors as a survival mechanism, it becomes clear that Jennifer's mind has been completely poisoned against reality. The climax takes place at Nemesis Corporation, where Carl reveals a massive robotic battlesuit designed specifically to kill Ben. But the most shocking moment comes when Jennifer herself enters the armor to fight Ben, nearly beating him to death while Carl watches approvingly. This isn't a brainwashed victim being forced to fight. This is someone who has willingly chosen to try to murder the person who originally saved her life. The episode's final disturbing element is Jennifer's complete inability to recognize Carl's evil, even when confronted with undeniable evidence. When Ben transforms into Edel and tries to reason with her, pointing out that Carl has murdered innocent people, Jennifer refuses to believe it. She sees Ben as the aggressor and Carl as her protector, no matter what reality clearly shows her. Immediate aftermath. Catch a Falling Star received an 8 rating on IMDb, but fan reactions were deeply divided. Many viewers praised the episode for its mature handling of serious psychological themes, with one reviewer calling it the darkest episode of Ben 10 I have ever seen. The episode was recognized for tackling Stockholm Syndrome in a way that was both educational and dramatically compelling. However, the episode also disturbed many viewers who weren't prepared for such dark content in a Ben 10 show. Parents complained that the murders and psychological manipulation were too intense for the series' typical audience. The fact that Jennifer, who had been portrayed as a sympathetic character, willingly participated in attempted murder was particularly shocking to viewers who expected heroes and victims to remain clearly defined. Child psychology experts noted that the episode actually provided an accurate portrayal of Stockholm Syndrome, showing how victims can become genuinely attached to their abusers rather than simply pretending compliance out of fear. This realistic approach made the episode more disturbing because it showed that Jennifer's condition couldn't be easily fixed by rescue or explanation. The episode's violence was also noted as being more graphic and consequential than typical Ben 10 content. The murders of Dr. Purvis and the truck driver were shown to have real weight and impact, rather than being glossed over as cartoon violence. This marked a significant departure from the series' usual approach to conflict resolution. Catch a Falling Star became a watershed moment for the Ben 10 franchise, proving that the series could handle genuinely mature themes without losing its essential character. The episode demonstrated that superhero stories could address real-world psychological issues like Stockholm Syndrome, abusive relationships, and the long-term effects of trauma. The episode's treatment of Stockholm Syndrome influenced how other animated series approached similar themes. It showed that children's programming could deal with complex psychological concepts without being exploitative or inappropriate, as long as the content was handled with proper care and context. Jennifer's character arc in this episode also served as a cautionary tale about the lasting effects of trauma and manipulation. Unlike typical superhero stories where victims are rescued and immediately return to normal, Jennifer's condition couldn't be solved by defeating the villain or explaining the truth to her. This realistic portrayal helped viewers understand that recovery from psychological manipulation is a long, difficult process that requires professional help. The episode's multiple murders also raised the stakes for future Ben 10 villains. It established that some enemies were genuinely dangerous to innocent people, not just to Ben and his team. This added real tension to subsequent episodes because viewers knew that the hero's failure could result in actual deaths rather than just property damage or temporary setbacks. For the character of Ben himself, the episode marked an important development in his understanding of heroism. He learned that sometimes people can't be saved simply by defeating their captors or explaining the truth to them. Some victims need professional help and time to recover, and heroes must accept that they can't fix every problem with superpowers and good intentions. The episode's legacy extends beyond the Ben 10 franchise to discussions about how children's media can responsibly address serious topics like abuse, manipulation, and psychological trauma. It became a reference point for creators who wanted to include mature themes without being inappropriate for younger audiences. Catch a Falling Star ultimately proved that animated superhero shows could grow up alongside their audiences, addressing more complex themes while maintaining the fundamental optimism and heroic values that made them appealing in the first place. It showed that darkness and maturity in children's programming didn't have to mean cynicism or hopelessness, but could instead lead to deeper understanding and more meaningful storytelling. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown.